I'm John Batchelor. Electioneering. My professionals, David Drucker, Washington Examiner, John Fudden of the National Review Online, are here. There are new polls tonight, Real Clear Politics, and we've spoken at length of Mr. Gardner's lead over Mr. Udall in Colorado and the questions about Colorado's same-day voting. Now we move to a race that looks to be teetering back and forth. This is Iowa. Joni Ernst, the very successful come-from-behind candidate in the primaries, holding her own on stage. I watched the debate Saturday night with Bruce Braley, who's a sophisticated and very straightforward Democratic representative in the House of Representatives. The Rasmussen tonight shows Ernst picking up a 3-point lead over Braley, 48-45. David, Iowa's a strange state to figure because this is a state that endorsed Mr. Obama twice. In fact, it invented him in 2008 and has voted for him happily in 2 cycles. It's a puzzle to me why Braley is struggling. He is the inheritor of Mr. Harkin's seat. That is a liberal progressive seat. So is this just because it's the 6th year of a 2-term president? Does that explain this shortfall by the Democratic candidate?
Well, I think it helps that President Obama isn't popular right now. Even in Iowa, you have a 6-year itch and all the problems that the president has had. But I think you can give a lot of credit to Ernst. She's been a very good candidate. Braley has made the kind of mistakes we would describe as Republican mistakes, at least if you look at 2012 and 2010 on the Senate side, in terms of gas and just generally being an unlikable guy on the campaign trail. And so, I think that's why Ernst has done well. She's also done well because in the primary, she was able to get unified Republican support, Tea Party, establishment, whatever. She got it all. And then she transitioned to a pretty effective general election candidate. She's got a good background, military veteran. She's female. That helps a lot, especially for somebody with Braley's sort of abrasive personality. This thing's still going down to the wire, though.
Yeah.
She's right in there.
North Carolina, total surprise. It was in the blue camp the last time I checked Real Clear Politics. John Fun, we have 2 North Carolina polls. There's been a debate recently. The first is High Point, Hagan 40, Tillis 40. It's a tie. The second, this is Survey USA, Hagan 45, Tillis 46. Hasn't Mr. Tillis been trailing by a sizable amount all these last weeks, John?
Yes, and a large part of it is he's more or less viewed as part of the political establishment. He's Speaker of the State House. They've made some very controversial moves there in recent months, and he gets flack from that. Having said that, it's still a very anti-Obama state. Kay Hagan, it's not so important whether or not she leads, it's how close she gets to 50% of the vote. In these polls, she's still stuck in the low to mid-40s. That is a very bad sign for an incumbent with no major third-party candidate to divide up the vote. If this continues and it remains tied, she's the underdog and will lose.
David, what happened? Did I miss news on North Carolina? They have a debate and all of a sudden Tillis jumps. Is this the undecided breaking against the incumbency?
Well, the NRSC, the Republican Senate campaign arm, they claim that undecided voters are breaking to Tillis, and that's why they went in for 6 million today, maybe up to 6.5.
6 million today?
Yes.
Wow.
Up to 6.5. What Republicans have told me, and Tillis has had a lot of flaws and problems as a candidate, and I think Hagan is somewhat underrated as a candidate because she's done very well. But one thing Republicans have told me for months and months and months was that if they got the resources in North Carolina, they would win. North Carolina and Hagan has been somewhat of a firewall for Democrats. They've poured more money into their maybe per voter than maybe anywhere else. It's definitely in the top 2 or 3, if not number 1. And I've just been told if they get the money, they'll hit Tillis over the top. And so this could be about the fact that Republican money has been pouring in more steadily over the past month, as opposed to over the summer when Tillis was just getting knocked on his rear end by Democratic money and ass.
David, do I say correctly that 6 million is a big buy for for any state but North Carolina?
So 2 things, though. It's a really big buy, but because it's coming late, they're paying a lot more per gross rating point than the DSCC than anybody that reserved early. But it's still going to buy them a ton of ads. The place is saturated. There are other Republican groups in there, including Crossroads and others. But this $6.5 million is nothing. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big risk because it's a lot of money for the NRSC to spend this late. It's not that it's that late, but this late, and it's pretty expensive.
New Hampshire, John. There have been polls showing Brown tying Shaheen, but tonight, the High Point survey has Shaheen at 48, Brown at 46. He's closed this race a lot, John. Does he have the oomph to close it all the way?
Well, the more Scott Brown campaigns, the more he actually meets real voters, the more support he picks up because he's a superb retail politician. That's what New Hampshire likes. The debates have been inconclusive. I think what ultimately this comes down to is New Hampshire also helped Barack Obama, remember, even though he lost the 2008 primary. They know him well. Is the shine off of Obama supporters such that they will not turn out to vote? And if turnout is down, Brown is up.
Is this, again, comes down to the president's approval rating, despite a few columns that say it no longer matters? The president's negative approval rating is dragging down Shaheen.
Absolutely.
David, is that a story that holds up in all of these close races, the president's approval rating? Does that explain why they're hiding him from these races?
Yeah, it does. And look, we're talking for most of these races, we're talking about states that it's not just he's unpopular, he's like viscerally unpopular. Michigan, I believe the president's going to go to. Is the most popular guy in the world there? No, but it ain't so bad. It's just bad. Arkansas, North Carolina, Kansas, you name it, it's just not good.
David Drucker of the Washington Examiner and John Fund of the National Review Online. Check your Real Clear Politics polls tonight. That's the first time I've seen North Carolina move from blue to gray. It is now a toss-up with Tillis coming from behind in the closing weeks. I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.